Hello and welcome. I'm Clovis Casali and this is Face Off. On the show today, French farmers voice their anger as politicians visit the annual agricultural fair in Paris. Their living and working conditions are dramatically worsening, with many farmers losing all hope. But what can the government actually do? Throughout history, France has been a strong agricultural power. Is that bound to change? Tricky questions that we'll put to our two experts, two senior reporters, Philippe Tell from international radio station RFI and Jean-Marc Gonin from Le Figaro magazine. Welcome to the two of you.
Thank you.
First question to you, Jean-Marc. Tell us a bit more about what the farming world means to the French. Wine, cheese, food, clearly a pillar of French society.
Yes, I would even say a pillar of French civilization or culture, whatever you call it. Although they are now they make a small percentage of the global population of this country, their symbolic worth is a lot bigger. You know, there's a strong connection for every French man, every French woman, with the land, with the farming world.
We're not here to talk about your personal life, Philippe, but obviously you are a British citizen. You've lived in France for many, many years. What's the wine, the food, the cheese, a reason why you came? What do you think of the farming world? What does it represent to the French? It's huge here, isn't it?
I think that if you look at France from outside, as many of our television viewers will obviously be doing, and who don't live here, there will be certain things that represent France, being wine, cheese, food, fashion, lots of different items that people associate with France. And the agricultural sector has been, I think, one of the key images of France, the key raison d'etre of France's reason for being over the last 1,000 years. And it's only in the last 20 to 30 years that we've seen a major shift in this. And the agricultural sector, which was the biggest employer of labour force in France, is now beginning to shrink. And many of the people who are working on these farms, who have taken them over from their fathers, from their grandfathers, and it's been handed down over the years, are now finding themselves at the end of the road where they can't make ends meet, and these farms are being forced to close. And that's why we've got into this situation now, where the government is being held to account. They're saying, well, why didn't you do something about this before? Why haven't you helped us? It's not so much the cereal sector or the wine business that's affected. It's more over the livestock sector, which is really in a difficult situation at the moment.
Here are a few numbers that might prove very interesting that show how the farming world has changed here in France over the past 50 years. And the situation indeed is dramatic. In 1955, you had 2.3 million farms with 6.2 million people working and earning a living from farming. In 2000, 4 times less farms and about 6 times less farm workers. That's huge. Does that mean that France is bound to see its farming world industry totally disappear in the years to come?
No, I don't think so. The figure you just showed are proof of a modernization, a very strong modernization of
with
this
a lot
sector.
less workers.
All right, but I mean, everywhere on Earth, agriculture needs less workforce because you have mechanization that has taken place. So this, I would say, this is a good sign. It means that revenue per farmer, per worker has gone up. The recent times there's a different problem. Europe has been very protective and very generous with the French farmers since it has started in the 50s. I mean, the first real common policy within Europe was in favor of agriculture, and France has profited from it. But as soon as the trade negotiations compelled Europe to stop regulating the prices, and they have to apply world prices right now, then that's where the problem started for the French farmers.
We'll talk about Europe a bit later because obviously it's a huge issue with the subsidies. But first, let's ask one question. Where does all the money go when it comes to farming? Are supermarkets too greedy? Are farmers being cheated? Let's take a look at this report by Shirley Sitbon that explains a bit more about costs and spendings, highlighting, once again, the desperate situation of French farmers.
On its 30th birthday, France's biggest meat processor didn't get a cake, but flour thrown all over its booth at the annual agricultural show. Farmers say Charal pays too little for beef.
When consumers spend €100 on meat, only €8 go to farmers.
The other sectors of the industry don't agree. Traders, processors, and supermarkets say they treat farmers fairly.
It hurts to see this, makes me want to cry. Why? Because they're destroying their tools. Charal sells meat produced by French farmers. They say we make all the money, but that's false. It's a misunderstanding.
So who's right? How much do meat farmers really make? France's Price and Profit Observatory says that farmers get 47% of the money spent on beef, while supermarkets get 27% and slaughterhouses and processors get 21%. But the study also shows that the taxes farmers have to pay are so high that in the end, they make no money at all. In fact, they lose money. One reason is that expensive quality meat is sold at the same price as low-quality cheap meat.
We're lowering our standards progressively. We're swapping high-quality beef for low-quality beef. And that's why farmers are struggling. It's like wine, like selling gallons of cheap wine instead of quality bottles.
Farmers say that if the French want to eat quality meat, they have to pay more. 66% of consumers say they're prepared to do that.
Clearly, farmers are exasperated here in France. Many are angry also at Europe for putting in place a free market, and not only. At the same time, France is the leading agricultural power in Europe and the country that gets the most money in terms of subsidies from Brussels. So, Philip, is Europe to blame for their situation?
No, I don't think Europe is to blame. Europe is a victim of several situations. I'll give you an example, two of them. One of them is an embargo which has been enforced by Russia over the Ukraine conflict, which means a lot of French agricultural produce would have gone to Russia but now is not being sold there. Second one is that the milk producer producing in this country has been given a free hand. The quota system was abandoned last year in April. So now the price that was automatically guaranteed for a litre of milk to each farmer has been taken away. And that means the prices for milk sales have gone crashing downwards. Coupled with that is a fall in demand for milk powder from China, which means that there's less of a demand for milk in Europe. And up until last year, whatever farmers produced was paid for at the same price. Since that milk quota has been taken away, they produce milk. There's too much milk, so therefore the prices have gone down. So the farmers are angry. The problem is, and I think that report that we just saw hit it on the head, is that there's too much money being taken away by the state from farmers in France, which means, as they said, when they produce meat, the actual profit they make is so small, or even they don't make a profit because they're literally paying out too much money in taxes to the government to keep their farms working. So what the government is saying, well, we'll give you more money, we'll subsidize you to bring the price back up again, and we'll make sure the supermarkets bring down their price. The supermarkets say, well, we can't bring down our price anymore because we're going to make a loss. What they need to do is bring down the overall amount of taxes that are being charged to farmers in this country, and that would make prices indirectly go up and they will be able to make a profit. But that's a long debate that the government has managed to sort out yet.
Is there a problem with norms put in place by Brussels also? I know that some small French farmers saying there are too many norms and that it has put them out of business. They had to stop some parts of their production.
Well, you can see it both ways. It's certainly true for small farms that there are too many norms. But on the other hand, those norms are a guarantee to get access to the whole European market. So the same farmers know that if they want to sell, let's say, to Hungary, they have to respect those norms, and it's a guarantee for them. So we can't just blame the norms for their problems.
But there are norms that are imposed within France that aren't imposed in other countries like Spain or Germany or elsewhere. And so the farmers are saying, well, these norms are costing us money because we have to keep re-equipping our farms to keep up to date with them, whereas other farmers in other countries aren't having it to do that. So obviously they can save money because they're not having to spend so much money in updating their
It's not only the
farms.
norms. They have also there's a problem of the type of workers in Germany. For instance, they use a lot of workers coming from Poland, etc.
And obviously,
so they have cheaper working conditions.
French farmers are putting pressure on politicians. At the annual agricultural fair in Paris, the French president was actually booed recently. He did try to reassure the farmers. Take a look.
It's really hard for young people to make it in farming these days. France should live off its own produce.
You need more help.
We should stop buying meat from abroad.
I haven't come to the show just to taste the products, to visit, to be seen, or to prepare for a deadline. I've come to the show to listen, even to the shouting. We need to start putting pressure on distributors here in France. A law was passed several years ago, but it needs to be reviewed.
And once again, the French far right is benefiting from the feeling of despair running high in the agricultural sector. An estimated 40% of farmers actually support currently the National Front. Is it just a protest vote?
No, it's much more than this. They are desperate. And once again, with such a populist like Marine Le Pen, she promises anything. I'm sure she can't do anything for them, but they are so desperate that they go to the person who might help them.
It would be no better under Marine Le Pen, I don't think, than it is currently under François Hollande. I think François Hollande is trying hard to find a solution. It's not easy. Government's going to try to introduce new measures, but the whole agricultural sector needs to be overhauled. There needs to be made bigger farms which are able to exploit larger areas of the country, and that's why the smaller farms that we're seeing disappearing, they just can't make ends meet. And I think the last thing that really needs to be done is that French products need to be made much higher quality, so they will pay for themselves, because France, as we said at the start of this programme, France is well known for meat, for wine, and for foie gras and all sorts of other things. So if the quality is there, it will sell.
Philippe Tell, Jean-Marc Gonin, thank you very much. That's all we have time for. Thank you all for watching. Take care and stay tuned to France 24.